When you think of Egyptian mythology, what myths come to mind? Pyramids, pharaohs, sphinxes. All of those are correct. But actually, there were several creation myths in Egyptian mythology at the same time. In this article, we will briefly compare three particularly famous creation myths: Heliopolis, Memphis, and Thebes. The creation myth of Heliopolis. Creation myth of Heliopolis is a myth that originated in an ancient city north of the Nile River and describes the beginning of the world. This myth was one of the Egyptians' attempts to understand the origins of the natural world and the universe, and reflects their view of the cosmos, creation from nothing. Creation from nothing is an important part of the account of how the world began. This idea that the first land emerged from the primordial sea then represents the mystery of something coming from nothing. This myth is an intuitive story of the emergence of the first land out of great waters. This part of the story is interesting for imagining what the beginning of the world might have looked like. The birth of Atum. The birth of Atum is a core part of the Heliopolis myth. Atum appeared through self-creation, and the fact that this deity is considered the first shows how important he is. The story of Atum creating himself and later creating other gods symbolizes the chain of creation. The birth of Atum is an important part of the Heliopolis myth, symbolizing the beginning of everything. The birth of the first gods. The birth of the first gods explains the origin of the diverse gods in Egyptian mythology. Atum's creation of Shu air and Tefnut moisture gave rise to the later gods and the diversity of the world. This myth is a symbolic story of how the world is composed of diverse elements. This part of the story shows how the ancient Egyptians understood the diversity of the gods. Separation of earth and heaven. The separation of earth and heaven is an important part of the structure of the universe in Egyptian mythology. Shu and Tefnut created Jeb earth and Nut sky, and their separation formed the basic structure of the present universe. The story describes the separation of earth and heaven from their unity, and this separation gave rise to space and atmosphere. The separation of earth and heaven is an important episode that shows how the ancient Egyptians understood the structure of the universe. The creation myth of Memphis. The creation myth of Memphis, which originated in Memphis, the early capital of ancient Egypt, located just south of present-day Cairo, played a central role in religious narratives. The myth is a key element in shaping the worldview of the ancient Egyptians.
And reflects the historical and cultural importance of Memphis location.
In the southern part of the Nile River Delta region, the existence of Ptah. In the creation myth of Memphis, the god Ptah plays an important role as the source of all creation. Ptah was the chief god of creation, and as the patron god of craftsmen and builders. He was a symbol of making and creation, and therefore his presence was of great importance. Stories of Ptah's creation of other gods, humans, and the natural world in the process of creating the world are indicative of his omnipotence. The existence of the god Ptah is at the core of the creation myth of Memphis, and is deeply rooted in ancient Egyptian religious beliefs. Creation by thought and word. Creation by thought and word by Ptah is a particularly important part of the Memphis myth. The idea that Ptah created the world with his mind and tongue emphasizes the power of words and thoughts and reflects the ancient Egyptians' view of the universe. The story of his creation of gods and men with words symbolizes the creative power of words. The story of creation, through thought and words, is key to understanding the origin and structure of the universe in the Memphis myth. The birth of the gods. The birth of the gods in the Memphis myth explains the existence of the diverse gods and their roles. The story of the birth of many gods by the mind and words of Ptah illustrates the diversity and complexity of the universe. The story of the birth of Ra, Shu, Tefnut, and other gods illustrates the diversity of gods in relation to natural phenomena and human life. The birth of these deities is an important element in the Memphis myths, expressing the order and diversity of the universe. The omnipotence of Ptah. Ptah's omnipotence in the Memphis creation myth indicates that he has absolute status as the creator of the universe. The fact that Ptah is said to have created other gods, and the entire world symbolizes his unlimited power and knowledge, making him the supreme god for the ancient Egyptians. The story of Ptah using his mind and tongue to create everything and bring his creations to life shows his omnipotence and creative power. Ptah's omnipotence is a central theme in the creation myth of Memphis and a core part of ancient Egyptian religious beliefs. The creation myth of Thebes. The Thebes creation myth is a religious story that originated in the ancient city of Thebes in southern Egypt and was of particular importance there. The myth reflects the Thebes region's status as a religious center and represents the ancient Egyptians' worldview and beliefs about the origin of the universe. The primordial Amun. The primordial existence of Amun plays a very important role in the creation myth of Thebes. This is because Amun was considered to be the source of all things, and as an invisible being, he received special worship. The fact that this hidden one was worshipped as the beginning of the world indicates that the ancient Egyptians believed in an invisible power. The primordial existence of Amun is a central theme of the creation myth of Thebes and a key to a deeper understanding of ancient Egyptian religious beliefs. The self-creation of Amun. Amun's self-creation symbolizes the process of creation in the Thebes myth. The story of Amun's creation of himself and how this act brought other gods and the universe into existence emphasizes the power and independence of the gods. This self-creation story represents the ancient Egyptians' unique view of the origin of the gods and the order of the universe. Amun's self-creation is an important part of Thebes' creation myth for understanding the beginning of the universe and the source of the gods' power. The integration of Amun and Ra. The integration of Amun and the sun. God Ra marks an important turning point in Thebes' creation myth. This integration strengthened the worship of Amun, who became a deity, symbolizing the power of creation and the sun. The worship of Amun-Ra as Amun-Ra illustrates the way in which the ancient Egyptians linked natural phenomena with the powers of the gods. The union of Amun and Ra symbolize the expansion of the gods' power and influence in the creation myth of Thebes. Creation of the universe. The creation of the universe by Amun-Ra is a central part of Thebes' creation myth, explaining the order of the world and the beginning of life. The story of his use of thought and speech to create other gods. And the universe symbolizes the origin of the universe and the power of the gods, reflecting the ancient Egyptians' view of the universe. In this myth, Amun-Ra used words to create the stars and life, creating an ordered universe that gave the world the shape we see today. Creation of the universe is a key story in the creation myth of Thebes, for understanding the structure of the universe and the origin of life. I used to think there was one Egyptian myth, but in fact, there were different creation myths at the same time, in different regions such as Heliopolis, Memphis, and Thebes. These myths show how the ancient Egyptians understood and interpreted their cosmology, and the different myths told in each region illustrate the diversity and richness of Egyptian culture. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like this video. History Spectrum.